Mark. Always a pleasure seeing you. So firstly, as I understand, Homeland Security processes and transfers unaccompanied minors to Health and Human Services so that they can be placed in someone's care like a parent or donor until their immigration issues are sorted. Why has FEMA's help become necessary now?
Well, I actually look back at this, and President Obama used FEMA in 2014 for the very same issue, a surge of undocumented children. What's really happening here is that President Biden, on day one of his administration, issued executive order, and then he issued additional executive orders to basically undo all of Trump's immigration policies. So what you ended up with is an incredible surge of children and families coming over the border, and unaccompanied children, and also the perception, which is the same perception as in the Trump era, of children being held in cages. That's unacceptable. So basically, the Biden administration erred on the other side, which was of Trump, which was let everyone in. Well, when you let everyone in and you have a surge, you have an emergency. So that's why I think FEMA is probably the right agency to get in there and try to fix it, which happened similarly in Obama.
Well, can you help us understand what happens if a minor comes to the U.S. from Mexico and has no one in the United States?
I think it's unclear at the present time what's going to happen. What you have is a humanitarian emergency. I think at the end of the day, I really do believe that the United States is going to do something similar that's been done by all the previous administrations to reckon with this, which is to figure out some kind of a plan to absorb immigrants and grant them some sort of temporary protective status or temporary status, but they need to alleviate the emergency immediately. The Biden administration clearly, with good intentions, moved too quickly, too fast. In fact, part of the executive order was a review of immigration policy. So what they did was, once they indicated that they were opening the door, revoking the Trump era policies, that created a surge. So the answer is unclear at the present time where we're going to go with this. And by the way, one thing that's very important, the solution to this has been absent through Reagan, Bush, Obama, Trump. Of course, Trump was kind of a much more severe approach, but none of these presidents were able to solve the problem. To solve the problem, you need comprehensive legislation. My question would be, how can you have comprehensive legislation when you can't get bipartisanship on an American Rescue Plan? You're not going to be able to get bipartisanship on an immigration reform. Forget about it. Therefore, the president, as President Biden, is issuing executive orders, which is exactly the same thing that Trump did. Trump issued executive orders. Biden's issuing executive orders. That does not solve the problem. So the answer to your question is, it's unknown and unclear. It's just a humanitarian emergency that needs to be fixed right away, and that's why FEMA is there.
I guess possibly children, while they're being processed, are being held at border patrol facilities. Mark, can you just talk to us about what the accommodations there is like? And it seems as though maybe the new system, Biden's system, isn't any more humane than what took place under the Trump administration.
It could be. The reports are children are sleeping on floors, they're in cages. I mean, it's the same optics, the same perception as we saw in the Trump administration. And so therefore, that's why Biden is acting right away to try to deal with it. I think, though, with Biden, you will see a much more humanitarian result, which may be allowing more people into the country, but then there'll be a pushback on immigration. And we saw that in Bush. We saw that in Obama. In fact, in President Obama, there are some of his critics, and not just the Republicans, called him the deporter-in-chief because he deported huge numbers of people. We have an immigration policy that is broken. And obviously, we can't have children in cages and children sleeping on floors. That's true. Now, the other part of the executive order is to work on the root causes of why we have so many children and families coming over the border. What are the root causes in these countries? And that is something the United States has to address, because otherwise you will have an unlimited surge of refugees. We've seen this in all the refugee crises. You saw it in the Syrian refugee crisis, over the Turkish border when Turkey took in refugees. I mean, it's a problem that may actually be almost insoluble, because in a humanitarian fashion. I certainly don't have the magic answer to it. But certainly right now, we need to prevent the situation and how the children are being treated. That is not going to be accepted, and that will be resolved. Going forward, how do we deal with the surge in immigrants coming over, and obviously the impossible situation for people living in these countries where they feel they need to come to the United States? Well, how does the United States absorb everybody? It's impossible. Yeah. So I just don't know. I just don't know the answer to it. Reform is essential, but it should be bipartisan.
Well, we certainly hope you're wrong that this is unsolvable. Professor Owens, appreciate getting your insight. Thank you for that.